Funded Futures continues to make sure their spot is solidified amongst the best prop firms out there. In this video, I'll be breaking down the all-new Starter Plus plan as well as the revamped Starter plan, comparing them so that you can see which one fits better for your trading style. And before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button. So the new Starter Plus plan is supposed to be a mix between their original starter account and their expert account, something kind of in the middle that's bridging both of those products together. So let's first go over what is the big change between a normal starter plan and a Starter Plus plan. So over here, we can see what you need to know. No T1 news rule on eval or funded. Now this is big because T1 news is anything from FOMC, CPI, NFP, I believe even like PPI and a couple others were on that list as well, which means that you couldn't trade in a 2-minute window before or after that news release. If you're already in a trade, you had to close it before that time, or that would be a soft breach of your account and all of the profits would be forfeited. So now this actually allows you to trade through it. Now, am I saying go and trade NFP or FOMC? Of course not. But I'm just saying if you do get caught in a great position and it just so happens that news is coming out, you can now hold that position, which is really nice. Next, we have no daily loss limit on eval or funded. So if we check out the normal starter plan, we can see the daily loss limit on a 50K account was 1,200. On a 100K, 2,400, and on 150,000, 3,600. And to be honest, this rule isn't even that bad, being that, you know, you're losing a little bit less than half of your overall drawdown in one day before you actually hit that limit. But if you are using a higher leverage, let's say you're going for 2% risk on each trade or higher, this can definitely stop you from executing as you normally would. So with the new starter plan that you do not have that daily loss limit, you can now utilize your whole drawdown to pass your account. Now, keep in mind that we still do have a consistency rule on the eval phase, all right? So you have a 50% consistency on eval, meaning that you can pass a challenge in 2 days. You can make 50% the first day, 50% the second day, and you are now a funded trader. There's no consistency rule on the funded account, which is really nice. So you no longer have to worry about, you know, having 50% consistency, 40% consistency. So now if you do have that big trade that takes off and is a runner, you can capitalize on that versus maybe cutting it a little bit short, trying to make sure that you still met the consistency rule to be paid out. Now, next, we also have an update on the micro scaling. So it's 1 to 10 on eval and 1 to 5 on funded. So what does this mean? For every one contract that you can trade on minis, you can trade 10 micros. That equals that one contract, all right? We can see that we can trade 3 minis or 15 micros on the funded account, right? And then if this was on eval, that would be 30 micros. Over here, we can trade 9 minis or 45 micros on the funded, and then 1 to 10. So this would be 90 micros that we could trade on the eval phase, which is really cool because now you can almost treat it like trading Forex, where you can partial out a lot easier, manage your risk a lot easier, taking out smaller slivers of your trade as price is moving. Now, another advantage to this account is that it's a lot cheaper than the actual expert plan. You can see that there is no activation fee. So for the eval, it's $120 for 50K, $200 for 100K, $300 for 150K. You can actually reset the evals as well. So you have the eval reset at the same exact price. And up until October 7th, we actually have 20% off of all evals and resets. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of this. Click the link in the description and use code PLUS to actually take advantage of that 20% off. So let's move over here and talk about the profit target. So on 50K, it's only 3K. On 100K, it's 6K. And on 150K, it's 9K. So this is a big difference as well than the expert. On the expert, you're going for around 12K for that profit target on the $150,000 account. It looks like the end of day drawdown is pretty much the same here as the expert account. So let's go ahead and double check. All right, so that's correct. So profit target on the 150K account for expert would be 12,000, and then the trailing max drawdown would be 4,500 here. Now, something very important to note about these accounts are how the actual withdrawals work. So first and foremost, you have to have 5 winning days of $100 in order to qualify for payouts. Okay, that's number one. For your payout, you can take up to $1,200 for each payout till you have 30 winning days or 6,000 in payouts achieved. Okay, this is for the 50K account. Now, one thing you guys have to pay attention to is the fact that after this $6,000, you're going to get moved up to a live funding account. So as you can see here, static account with $2,500 in balance, eligible after 30 winning days or 6,000 in payouts. Now, I'm not a huge fan of being moved up to live and you not being able to take out your full payout. So that's the only thing about, the new model that's kind of going around that I'm not the biggest fan of. And now we can see that trickling over into my funded futures. So for the 100K account, you can take up to 2,400 each payout till 30 winning days or 12,000, and then you get moved up to live funding. And then for the 150K, you can take up to 3,600 each time till 30 winning days or 18,000 in payouts achieved. So I would just keep that in mind, the fact that even if you made $10,000 on any of these accounts, you actually can't even withdraw it all at one time. And you're basically capped at around like 4 to 6 payouts, right, at the maximum. So even if you made, let's say, $10,000 on a 50K account, you're really only going to be seeing 6,000 of that, and then they would move the rest over to your static account. So across the board here, we can see there is no more activation fee, which is really nice. We can see that there's a scaling rule on both those starter accounts. We can see that there's micro scaling and funded as well. Consistency rule only for the normal starter and not for the starter plus or the expert. You then have eval consistency rules, and the only one that has an eval consistency rule is the actual starter plus. Now, one other thing to note with the expert is that you get paid out every 14 calendar days, while the other accounts you can be eligible in as little as 5 days. On the starter plan, you could also reset your simulated funded account. So for an example, on a 50K account, that will cost $450. On a 100K account, that will cost $800. And then on a 150K account, that will cost $1,200. You'd then be able to skip the evaluation phase and go straight back to funded via shot at a payout. So let me know which one is your favorite so far. I think personally, I still like the expert. The only thing is that you get paid out every 2 weeks instead of the potential for every week. But keeping in mind to have 5 winning days in a row, not to say it's impossible, but it's very common to at least have 1 or 2 losing days during the week. So it's going to naturally push it into the second week anyway, which is going to end up with your payment being right around the same time as the expert. So will you be giving the Starter Plus account a try? Let me know in the comments.